What's going on, everybody? This is an episode from the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast. Do you like podcasts and you want to see the full podcast? Make sure you check out the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast on all your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, among many others. But you're listening to the episode right here on YouTube, so make sure you hit that like button and below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to NC Studios and NC Level Up for all your gaming needs. This is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. Along WrestleMania weekend, we have the different shows and things going on like that. And on Friday was the Hall of Fame after WrestleMania Smackdown. So this year in the Hall of Fame, the headliner was Paul Heyman, and then we also had the U.S. Express, Bull Nakano, Muhammad Ali, Thunderbolt Patterson. Those were the inductees this year. So we didn't do no Warrior Award this year. We Triple H didn't overcrowd this because they made sure to let you know this was a Paul Levesque pick class, and you can tell. And honestly, when it comes to like picking the Hall of Fame and stuff like that, I am all a fan for having like just 5 people go in at a time, opposed to like 10 people. You know, you try to squeeze as much as you can in there. You know what I'm saying? So,
May I say something to that? One thing that my wife pointed out to me, because she watched part of the Hall of Fame with me, she said a lot of people in the Hall of Fame felt like they should have been there already. And I was like, part of me, I can understand your argument of that, of these people, what they did and the time they're going in comparison to the time they stopped, so the time in between. Yes, honestly, I think Paul is playing catch up right now. Respect to that. I get it. You got to complete a couple other people to get some new people. But based upon the respect that I saw the Philadelphia show that Hall of Fame class, can we, as a fan, can we not do another Hall of Fame here? Let's not do that.
No. Okay, so that part I'm going to disagree just a little bit, but I do agree with your wife. This is because you can tell the night and day. Vince picked the people he liked to go in the Hall of Fame, or the people he control, whatever the case may be. Which was like, listen, I'm trying to legitimize his Hall of Fame a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because Muhammad Ali should have probably been one of the first. Should have went back probably in 2004 or 2005 with Hogan in there.
She also said she was amazed that Ali was not already in there.
Exactly. And then when it came to like Thunderbolt Patterson, I would have put him in there 2007 with Dusty Rhodes. I mean, because and people really don't know the impact that man has made on the wrestling business, and that's a shame. Bull Nakano was the only other woman that Alundra Blaze was fighting in the mid '90s. It's like, should she have been in there before Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler? Absolutely. But Vince didn't get to suck on her neck, so you gotta wait. So there you have it. Then when you sit there thinking of like the U.S. Express, it's like if this was Vince, IRS would have been in there. Yeah. But Triple H wanted to honor the tag team that was at the first WrestleMania, and U.S. Express is back when Wyndham was actually wrestling. IRS, it was more character driven. So, and Barry makes Barry Windham a 2-time Hall of Fame because he was in there with the Four Horsemen. So, Triple H is trying to bring back the legitimacy of it, and
right, he has to fix it.
But however, you know what he does need to fix though? The format.
Speak one.
I hate
Go
it.
into it.
Go on, y'all. I'm telling you right now, I hate this Hall of Fame the Hall of Fame after SmackDown has to be the last year to do that. This has to be the absolute last year to do that. And with the new TV deals coming down the pipeline for wrestling, with Raw about to go to Netflix and NXT about to go to CW, it's most likely that SmackDown may go to USA. If you have to put it back on Tuesdays, fine. If you have to put it on Thursdays again, fine. But right now, the Hall of Fame needs its own day. Not after SmackDown. Because it showed big time of how disinterested the superstars themselves were and how tired they were when they had to get ready for Mania the next day. And that's frustrating. And on top of that, Triple H wants to give people enough time to, share their grievances, but it pissed off The Rock because his grandmama and him got barely 5 minutes. This is The Rock we talking about here. And he barely got 5 minutes, so the reports came out how upset he was about that. Trust me, they're going to change that format. And honestly, as much as I love them, including the fans and stuff like that, I don't think it needs to be in Wells Fargo anymore. Or it don't need to be in a big arena anymore. Look, I respect, I know you're trying to get the fans, but me personally, if you want to do it like with the Performance Center crowd, and I like more intimate settings when you're doing ceremonies like this. Like, I like the Oscars, I like the Grammys, I like when they used to do the red carpet and they would interview the stars going there with their wives and their their significant others and their families and stuff like that. I enjoy that. But now this shit is so put together. They had the cheers going around the ring. That looked tacky. That looked extremely tacky. And
that looked tacky. And personally, no, you first, please.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, my boy Rob was there, so he said they had, so the show went off. Then they had to stand there. They had to sit there for half an hour while they got the ring and the chairs together. So what was happening was, this is all reports that came from him. What was happening was that when people was going to get like snacks and stuff, but all the stuff was starting to close down, and then people was leaving. So they was asking people to fill up the camera side, in the back office so they could fill the people out. And I'm like,
can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
The exact same thing happened at Ring of Honor.
Okay, speak on it. Explain something about it.
When I said, so I'm sitting there, look, I had good seats. My friend that put these seats together, shout out to her. Shout out to you, Cass. Appreciate you. It's down to pretty much the time of the Mark Briscoe match, which was the final match of the night.
Yeah.
Mark Briscoe, Eddie Kingston for the belt. Okay. Now, the front row, camera side, was very similar to the layout of the Hall of Fame. They were all fold-up chairs, and there was only 3 rows of chairs. So, with them cycling in and out, let's get these people on camera side because they're related to the wrestler or they're their family or this, that, and the third. Also, throughout the night, as people would leave or people would circle back, you would see the attendant go over to them. They would tell the attendant they were leaving, and people walked up to the 4 guys next to me and she said, "Hey guys, could you do me a favor? Hey, we're trying to make sure it looks full throughout the night. So do you 4 guys want to be bumped up to camera side in the first 3 rows?" And they said, "Oh, bet, that's amazing." So I was like, "Wow, so y'all really pitching for the camera, huh?" Okay. And I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad show. It's Ring of Honor. So if you watch Ring of Honor, you like Ring of Honor. Same way if you watch AEW, you like AEW. So you get Ring of Honor type matches and AEW type matches. I didn't understand the 20 count though. That's probably for another conversation. But
yeah.
They definitely brought people in and was filling up on camera side just to fill it in. As you said that, I believe you said Rob recently just went through, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened, and I was like, all right. So, but the format has to change. It needs to go back to being, if you're going to do 2 nights of WrestleMania, right? Because that way is a new format, and I'm not mad at that format. However, I don't mind NXT being at 12. I really don't mind that. But what you can do though is, if you want to breathe a little bit, then have NXT on Friday still at 12. But honestly, you probably won't get much. It's still a work day, so you keep it on Saturday. But the Hall of Fame about this: 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Friday night is when we're gonna go to the Hall of Fame. You got five inductees. You give them some time. The thing be over at 11 o'clock.
See, I'm interested on the layout of the format of what you're saying for this as well, because I'm a person under the understanding of I do understand why NXT is on Saturday, but to have NXT before Mania, coming from it from a fan point of view, if you were in town, you're out of town, you're attending both of these things because you grabbed some grand package of everything, I would be exhausted as crap to be at the Wells Fargo Center for 4 hours than to be at the Link Financial Field for another 6 hours.
No. I'm gonna bring this up because here's the thing: if you're paying for that package and you're traveling out of town to this, you've done this before. 9 times out of 10, you've done this before. 8 times out of 10, the people I talk to have done this before. This ain't been to Philly, so you already know what to expect. So if you're going to, if we're going to travel for like, okay, hypothetically, if we're going to go to SummerSlam, right, in Cleveland, because Cleveland's not that far, right, we're going to prepare ourselves for one day because only one day is SummerSlam. There's no Hall of Fame. There's no NXT. You're preparing for like, hey, we can go for a weekend and just go to SummerSlam that Saturday. We can plan that. When it comes to WrestleMania, they already explained that they got packages for this thing. So when people, it's like we doing all this stuff. Yeah, you're gonna be exhausted, but you know what you're getting into doing that. But even still, nobody cares about that Smackdown unless you're doing some. Because right now, that is Triple H's pre-show. It's Smackdown, and it's like, okay, because he don't do it on the card anymore, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but having the Hall of Fame start at 10 o'clock at night after we already been there for 3 hours already, that's a no. You need to start this thing early because that means nobody can get the justice they deserve, and then on top of that shit, they put Paul Heyman first, which in hindsight was probably a mistake. But once again,
I think they did it to get the maximum reaction from the exhausted crowd. But you are right, because after you saw Paul Heyman, no disrespect to anybody else, it was a law.
Yeah, it's like nobody else could top that because he had an awesome speech, and nobody could top that, and they wasn't going to. But you already knew you were going to have The Rock at the main event. Okay, because that's what the fuck it's going to be. But then there was no fucking time, and then I think that a lot of other people had good speeches, but once again, it was already people was just like, in my personal opinion, like I was saying, because I'm gonna give a quick recap of the speeches, and then go into depth into Paul Heyman a little bit. Well, Thunderbolt Patterson, right? First of all, I don't think a lot of people understood what he did in the career. Then when they showed his video package, they're like, hey, yo, Dusty Rhodes got his whole shit from Thunderbolt Patterson. And when he was announced, I told y'all, and I told my wife when we were on the podcast, I said, yo, Dusty Rhodes had somebody's inspiration because he got his whole shtick from this guy. You know, even the road on it do some things today. I remember Thunderbolt Patterson's promos. I used to watch Legends of Wrestling, and I thought. Now, me personally, I was like, I didn't know y'all was going to have the New Day bring him in, but okay, sure. But they had this. Who was this white guy that was just talking for him for the past 10 minutes?
I have no idea who that was, bro.
And I was sitting there thinking, like, wait a minute. So it's kind of ironic that y'all got this man who sat there and fought for racial equality in wrestling and who was known as one of the best talkers in wrestling, and you got this white man talking for him. And I was like, who is this guy? So that wasted 10 minutes right there. And you already know this man is old because he's in a wheelchair. He need help. So then he gets up there, and here's the thing: I thought his speech was funny, and I thought it was very Thunderbolt Patterson stuff. But you tired because you just heard the white guy talk for 10 minutes. Now he comes and talks for another 10 to 15 minutes. So now you have a total of 25 minutes that you could have cut off 10 minutes of that, to the point where it's just like, okay, even Stephanie was just like, oh my God, can we wrap this shit up? And I was like, I feel you on that. Even though I'm feeling him and I'm feeling the speech, halfway, we gotta wrap this shit up. Then, when it came to the U.S. Express, it was like, it's emotional, and you wasn't going to rush them because that's Bray Wyatt's dad, and you already know he's very emotional, but they didn't really talk much, talk long or anything like that. But it did have everybody, put the fireflies up for Bray Wyatt. I thought that was kind of cool. Bull Nakano kept it short and sweet.
May I say something on the U.S. Express before you roll in the bull?
Yeah.
That looked like that was insanely hard for them. And I get it, the loss of Bray Wyatt and everything. I'm not saying to get it to shrug it off. I'm not saying that in that aspect at all. I'm saying it as it almost looked like it was hard for them to be up there and be inducted and not have their son either up there with them or be there inducting him. It almost is like in their face, it's like, yo, we have to do this, but we don't want to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
It very much looked like their heart was out of it. And that's why I can understand the argument for maybe you should have did Bray, but not UX Express, but Bray would have probably upstaged Paul. I see the problems there, you know?
Yeah, and it would have got no time. And first of all, Bray's still too fresh. Bray just died 6 months ago. So I do think that maybe next year will be a better fit for Bray Wyatt. So
what was the turnaround time on Titus? I mean, not Titus O'Neil, on Shad being inducted?
Over a year.
Okay. It didn't feel like over a year, but that's why I asked that question.
So Shad died in May of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And 2020, huh? And
no, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but they still gave a Warrior Award to Titus O'Neil for 2020 and somebody else for 2021. They gave it to Shad for 2022.
Then I think Bray should be next year if you're going to do it. I feel like after that, then you're waiting too long to do it. But yes, I can understand there's probably way more other people that should have been in it too. I get the duality and problem that's being dealt with right now.
But once again, that's been the Vince problem. Vince is in control of all these Hall of Fame. Vince is in control of these picks. There are some people, and then to the point where the picks that he's picking, Great Khali, is just not credible. And it's like, okay, you just put them in there for the sake of fucking putting them in there because I like the big guys, you know what I'm saying? Or I like the guy, or the yes man, whatever the case may be. But you're just like, okay, Dad, let's try to bring some legitimacy back to this thing. And you know, and I respect that. So then, like I said, Bull Nakano was there, and she was very short and street, but you know, she means a lot to women's wrestling, and especially because she was in the era where the division was only 2 women.
Yeah,
and that's her and Alundra Blaze, and then
absolutely,
and especially when it comes to all the Japanese style wrestling, because she still looks good, by the way.
Oh yeah, she looks amazing for her age, hands down.
Yeah, and I wanted to, you know, I wanted her to get some time. You know, she was short and sweet, you know, and to the point, and that's fine. Then you had the Lonnie Ali thing, and here's the thing. At first, I was really upset by it, and then I was reading more onto it. I believe, once again, I can read some of these wrong, but I do believe that was her idea to do that because
it felt like it felt like a promo for the final boss.
It didn't it? And I was just like, what the? I was like, wait, but I said, does his ego have no bounds? You know,
when you was up here talking about breaking down the Hall of Fame, I was like, are we sure The Rock wasn't inducted?
Exactly.
Because I saw a lot of them in the Hall of Fame.
and I was just like, and so, you know, it had to be fake because I was going to review it that night, and I was like, but I don't think I have all the facts just yet. So, according to some of the stuff I was reading, two things. The Rock. Remember when you be playing a wrestling game and they be like, "There's a Smoke and Skull Championship, but there's also this Brown Bowl Championship, right?"
Yes.
That was supposed to be a thing that The Rock's supposed to have back in '99 when him and Stone Cold was feuding, and Stone Cold had the Smoke and Skull Championship, and then he threw it in the lake, and then The Rock won the championship, but they never gave him his Brown Bowl Championship. So,
I remember all of that. Yep.
When The Rock was in the Nation, because trust me, he will not let us forget that. When The Rock was in the Nation, he started calling himself the People's Champ, and he knew that was a term that Ali used, right? So and his dad, now this is true, his dad used to spar with Muhammad Ali back in the day because he was a boxer before he became a wrestler. So he contacted the Ali family and said, I mean no disrespect by that, but then, you know, for respect to People's Champ. But Ali said, you go ahead and use that term, the People's Champion. So apparently this was supposed to be a gift from the family. It's a combination of you finally get your belt and it's the People's Champion because he allowed you to use that. That's what that was supposed to be about. And it just felt weird to me because I was like, it came in the middle of her speech, but I mean, I understand. If that's what she wanted to do, then then fine. And, the Rock was honored to get it. So I was like, okay, he gets his belt. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that couldn't have been done backstage for a WWE exclusive. You know what I'm saying? But the Rock probably said, "Yo, we gonna do this on TV." Whatever the case may be, or can I have this belt right in time for WrestleMania so I can go out there with a belt? Whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? It could have been an ego thing. It could have been a legit. It could have been the best of both worlds. But that's what that was.
Do you agree with the crowd booing Rock when that happened?
No, I don't. I mean, see, this is why I think that the Hall of Fame needs to be in a more intimate setting, because I don't think
this is what I was talking about. I got mad at the crowd personally, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, because I do think that this is an intimate moment between them. Yes, and it's like I don't care if people don't agree with what I'm about to say, but I think it has merit because The Rock always puts his Samoan side forward. And I have no problem with that. But also, The Rock also doesn't want us to let us forget about his black side. And when it comes to stuff like this, like having Muhammad Ali and his wife, and his father, and him being part of the nation and doing that, and just having that moment between black men, I think he's very proud of that because The Rock is very. I don't want to say sensitive about that, but he's very proud. He's a very proud guy. You would say, right?
I think you can say sensitive without meaning the traditional connection of calling a man sensitive. Exactly. I think you can be sensitive and strong.
Exactly, and it seems like that. I don't think The Rock feels as though his black side gets respected enough. And I feel as though that with him being honored by Muhammad Ali's wife. And being British champion, and for Muhammad Ali saying you can be the people's champion, that meant a lot to him. And the booing, I think that hurt him because it's like because as of right now, you can be a fan and whatever the case may be, but it's just like because The Rock. Go ahead.
Not only do I think it hurt him, I think it obviously hurt him. You could look on his face that he said, like, if he could have said it, he said, "I'm done with these mothers." Like that, it was on his face. Yeah. When I said me and my wife stay here, without talking to him, we picked up. We was like, that was wrong. Let's get all this final ball stuff out of here. Like, this is the time when I need you to separate the man and the art right now. This is wrong. This should not happen. He should not be booed. And if this is how we're going to treat this, then as fans, we shouldn't have this in front of fans.
We should, but then also on the flip side of that, though, I could see if fans thought that this was an ego move.
Yes, because we did state that as well. Yes.
Yeah, because it could be like why now? You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're gonna come out later for your grandmama. And then on top of that, as you probably seen, when he came out for Leah Maivia, his speech wasn't not that long because he had to wrap it up. The Rock only had about 5 minutes. The Rock only had about 5 minutes. So,
and that goes into what you said before. You got SmackDown. SmackDown started at 8. You might have got here at 7, maybe a little bit more as early as 6. Then this was over at 10. Then this was I got Peacock on right now. 2 hours and 32 minutes. So if it
was over at 1. 10,
there you go. Thanks for the math. Over at 1. You tired. You real tired. You tired. Be honest.
Exactly. You tired and frustrated, and so visibly The Rock was pissed that night. But the yeah, so I just felt as though like stuff that's very, very important to him. I felt as though that he takes it a little personally, which I don't blame him for that. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is on that one. So Paul Heyman gets up there. Now Paul Heyman, he opens the show, he kills it, and nobody can follow, which is what was going to happen. And he had the box up there. First of all, Paul Heyman got, as he called, the sappy stuff out the way. First of all, he talked about his kids. I didn't even know he had grown kids, to be honest with you.
I didn't know he had kids. Period. He kept that so close to the chest.
Exactly. And he talked about, you know, saying everybody said you deserve it. He said you damn right I fucking deserve it. You damn skippy. He do. We in Philly. And
facts. And I was like, he right.
He's right, you know. And he says, you know, he didn't want to go in the Hall of Fame, but there was only 2 things that made him go. He said, because I was the first pick in a Paul Levesque Triple H leading company in class, and he said that because it was in Philly, because it just the time just felt right, and he you know, and
not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. He gave Triple H his flowers. You know, it shows that, yo, please get the attention off of me. And went to shake his hand. He talked about Stephanie and how he wanted his daughter to grow up to be like Stephanie. She had her whole Invasion ECW cap on, and
nice.
And he just said,
Stephanie's still look good too.
Exactly. He just said, you know, you married the wrong Paul. That was funny. And then he said, even in the middle of the feud with Cody Rhodes, he said, yo, I really wish my mom could be here to see this moment. I really wish my dad could be here to see this moment. And then he turned the mic around, looked at Cody Rhodes. He said, Cody Rhodes, I also wish that your father could be here tonight. And you know, every time you mention Dusty, Cody got the waterworks coming. That's that's his bucket to his Captain America. As soon as you say that, bro, it's all over. It don't matter. You can say it in the middle of the match, you start crying. It is what it is.
Martha!
You know, and that was very, very heartfelt. And then he said, okay, now we got all that, you know, sappy stuff out the way, right? All right, now let's talk about some ECW. And he had this box on his podium, and he pulled out his old leather jacket, his old headset. He brought out the old cordless phone from the 90s. He was like, holy shit, this is the one I, you know, knocked the back of the head to Sting. And it was actual cordless phone. I remember the Paulie Dangerously cordless phone. Then he pulled out his ECW hat, went through a time warp, and went back to doing that work shoot pro from SmackDown, and talked about, you know, when Stone Cold drunk his first beer, or then when they started using tables and stuff like that, you know, or when WCW wanted to start using cruiserweights. All that stuff came from ECW. And if you think ECW went down in a bankruptcy in 2001, you can suck my fucking dick. I was like, wasn't ready for that, but that was extremely Paul Heyman.
He got away with everything that night. He said, I'm gonna cook tonight.
And I was like, yo, I was clapping for it, and then he acknowledged CM Punk, and then he talked about he said CM Punk's probably whispering to my son right now that, you know, I'm about to get canceled, but he said, you know what, I've been canceled before, and then they can't they cancel me. He goes down the timeline of when he was doing a photographer, and then he went to work for WCW. Then they want him to work with Jim Ross, and then he went to Paulie Dangerously. Then they got rid of him there, and he went to Eastern Championship Wrestling, which became Extreme Championship Wrestling. Then he went back to WWF to work with Jim Ross, and then they stuck him with Brock Lesnar. Mentioning Brock Lesnar, and how they wrote it, and even being a writer on SmackDown, and same thing with Raw, and then now he is the advocate for the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, and he has a lot left.
The wise man. The wise man for the Tribal Chief.
Yes. And
Special counsel.
Exactly. So that he brought all that stuff up, and he says, you know, when you fail 100 times, you got to succeed on 101, and you keep trying. And as long as Paul Levesque is here and is going to be in charge of that, you know, the opportunity is there. So I like how he put Paul Levesque over. I like how he put everybody else over here in Philly. It was a you know, to paraphrase, it was just a very, very wonderful, well done speech. I would love to see. Huh?
Too bad it was first.
Yeah, too bad. I was like, yeah, y'all ain't gonna top that.
I would have hated to be in the back and had that happen. You'd be like, oh, I'm next? Great.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Hopefully they put this thing on Friday by itself and they move SmackDown to another day. Or hell, if they don't can't tape SmackDown. Tape it.
So wait, but when we gonna do the Andre Memorial Battle Royal? Ooh.
Honestly, to be honest with you, after seeing WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday, that can be one pre-show thing you can do.
Yo, let's be honest. Can I ask you a question? What happened to the women's one? Is that just gone now? Am I just supposed to not notice that we put a spotlight for the men and not the women again? Never mind. I gotta stop noticing that. Go ahead.
No. I mean, it's cool, but I'm just saying because there really is no time for it. Like I said, maybe next year those can be the only pre-show matches. Like on Saturday you get the women's, on Sunday you get the men's. You know.
I'll be okay with that. That would make sense to me. It would fulfill, sitting in the cold, just waiting, listening to a DJ.
Exactly. It'll give you something to cheer for and stuff like that, and just to help move things along. And I think you ain't gotta add no other pre-show matches. Just the ones who just can't do anything. Just put them all in the Battle Royal, and then and have that for night 1 women's, night 2 men's, and you can do it that way. And actually make SmackDown instead of a pre-show, make it a show that help advance storylines, because that's why none of this stuff had heat to it in the first place.